Attorney Arnel Mateo. Learn from our featured business experts. Achieve business and professional growth and be a socially responsible business owner. Grow with us here at Idol sa Negosyo. Are you an aspiring entrepreneur? Do you want to learn how to start and grow your own business? Are you looking for ways to build and market your brand? Idol sa Negosyo is the business platform for you. Tune in. Are you an aspiring entrepreneur? Do you want to learn how to start and grow your own business? Are you looking for ways to build and market your brand? Idol sa Negosyo is the business platform for you. Tune in and turn on at Idol sa Negosyo. Every Tuesdays, 4:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Live on Facebook and YouTube. Hosted by business leader attorney Arnel Mateo. Learn from our featured business experts. Achieve business and professional growth and be a socially responsible business owner. Grow with us here at Idol sa Negosyo.
Live on Facebook and YouTube. This is Idol sa Negosyo.
Welcome to Idol sa Negosyo, your source and platform for business inspiration, strategic marketing, innovation, and growth. Here we share inspiring stories and practical tips on how to succeed in business. I'm your host, Atty. Arnel Mateo, the President of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Quezon City, the voice of business in QC. And today we have a special episode lined up for you. Ngayon ay isa na namang pagkakataon na makinig at matuto mula sa mga eksperto sa mundo ng negosyo at syempre sa buhay. We'll delve into the challenges they face, the lessons they learned, and the strategies that help them thrive in the competitive world of business. We have with us today the founder and president of the Geese Project Incorporated, Mr. Richard Caballeo. Hi, Richard.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, thank you. Magandang hapon. At,
Magandang hapon.
Natuloy tayo.
Okay.
Ayan. So, Richard, can you tell us about your background? So, paano ka ba nagsimula bago nagkaroon ng Geese Project?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm born in the Philippines. You know, grew up here. I'm born in Calapan Oriental, Mindoro.
Mindoreño.
Mindoreño,
Yes.
proud Mindoreño. And then I left when I was around 15. You know, and then went to Canada, and you know, stayed in Canada for the next 40 years, and finished my studies there, and did my MBA there, and then. What happened was I started working. I worked for Hewlett Packard for over 13 years. And I started traveling abroad, traveling globally. And the whole genesis of the Geese Project is I wasn't seeing Filipino leaders. I wasn't feeling, I've worked in over 50 countries. And wherever I go, I'm always very conscious of me being a Filipino working in a global environment.
So, konti yung nakikita mo Pilipino
Yeah,
na
medyo-
in leadership roles.
in leadership roles, and we're talking about some management in the middle all the way to the senior. There's a lot of other races, you know, and I'm just curious. It just kind of perked my interest early on in my career. Bakit hindi tayo na-elevate all the way to the highest levels? So I kind of put it aside. I worked through my career, you know, and then, but later on to mid to late in my career, I started really coming back to that original curiosity.
Yes.
Bakit? And there was a lot of revelations the more I do research. And at the heart of it is that's what started the Geese Project.
Yeah.
That's what brought me back from Canada, brought me back to the Philippines, was really to pursue this advocacy, which is to develop the next generation of global Filipino leaders.
Yeah. And sa mo to sinimulan? Sa Canada na siya?
So I developed the Geese Project for the Philippines. It didn't start it in Canada.
Okay.
It was really geared towards Filipinos, and I felt that I had something to share. I felt that I had a bit of a roadmap on how future generations of Filipinos will be able to succeed at the global level.
Yeah.
And so I started really systemizing the whole process. What are the traits that they need to develop? What are the skills? And that's at the heart of the Geese Project.
Okay. And now you mentioned earlier na you moved in Canada when you were 15. So what was the reason? Why did you move to Canada?
So this was back in the 80s, and just like a lot of immigrant families, you know, they felt that going abroad provides a better future. And so I was with my elder brother and with my mom, and kind of immigrated to Canada. So it was more of really an opportunity, since my elder brother was already there and my relatives were there, which is very typical of hundreds of immigrants, was really to explore and really see whether there's better opportunities abroad.
Yeah. And how was it when you started working in top global companies?
So, first of all, anybody that tells you immigrating to another country is easy is lying to you. Immigrating in any country is difficult. Right? I mean, there's a lot of struggles. There's a lot of transition. But if you persevere and if you kind of work hard, you'll really be very successful. And that's one of the key attractions of why people migrate. Diba? It's like, you know, if you work hard and really focus. And that's what really resulted for me, started really working for global companies. As soon as I graduated my university and started on a couple of jobs, and then the turning point was working for Hewlett Packard, which I worked in 3 continents, and I worked for 13 years. So that was the start of my journey.
Yeah. And what were your learnings during that time when you were working for these global companies in terms of leadership?
So I was blessed. I was blessed that I was exposed to a lot of what we call the global best practices of these global companies. I was also blessed that I had last count maybe around over 10 mentors that really took me under their wing and really said, "Listen, Richard, this is how we do things." And based on that, it kind of molded your whole personality. And I'll be very honest in the sense that who I am today is really a factor of what I learned at Hewlett Packard. You know, the way I think, the way I communicate, the way I treat people. And it's amazing how a company can kind of transform you in terms of who you are, not just as a professional, but also as a person.
Just they bring out the best in you.
They do, and I'll give you an example. So they have what we call a lead program, right? Which is they pick the top 1% of their, at that point, 200,000 employees worldwide. It's now what's called a high potential. It's hypo, where they pick the top, and then what they do is they put you in a fast track program. So they assign you a mentor, but more importantly, they assign you a psychologist for a full year.
Okay.
And then
It's a 1-year program.
A 1-year program. You get. So back then I was in Hong Kong. They fly you in, all the top high potential, and they mentor you for 1 year. And as part of that program is really the psychologist that really dissects your personality and really trying to, for lack of a better word, really break down all your biases, so they can build you up again.
Okay.
And that was a very transformational stage, part of my professional career.
Okay.
Because that was really quite different, and that's really what kind of molded me together with my mentors in terms of my leadership style.
Now, how young were you at that time?
I was nominated early 30s.
Early 30s.
I
So,
was early
so for
30s.
when we speak of these programs like the Geese project, the age doesn't matter. So even if you're already like 40s, 50s, can you still have this?
Definitely. So, one of the things that at the heart of the Geese program is really the idea that what we call the culture-based leadership, which is what we realized during research and just based on experience, that your effectiveness as a Filipino leader is directly related to your parents' upbringing, to your schooling, and to the societal norms. And all of those started when you were young.
Yes.
Right? And so the ability to be a leader, the ability to develop the skills, it doesn't stop. As I always say, leadership is a journey, right?
Yes.
And sometimes people, to your point, they say, am I too late? I'm already 50s and 60s, right? And I always say, leadership is a personal journey. Stop looking at the left, stop looking at the right, just focus on your own journey, because you're at the right place at the right time, regardless of where you are in your life.
Yes, and since it's a personal journey, it is your choice. Yeah, you have the choice on what will happen to you and what will you become as a leader later on.
Yeah, and I think it's a factor of different things, right? It's a conscious decision that I want to be a good leader, but more importantly, I have the desire to learn the skills to be a good leader. It's one thing to want it, but it's another thing to really invest in yourself. And that's once I made that decision to invest. What are the traits? What are the skills that I need to become a leader? And that's what at the heart of the Geese project is.
Yeah, so it's like saying leaders are made.
Yes.
Leaders are made, they're not born.
Correct.
Correct. But sometimes it's difficult to go out of situations, right? You live with your parents, you live in a certain community, or you are in a certain school. So how does one decide to go out of that situations?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because part of the challenge, what I see why Filipinos are not elevating to the highest level, is they don't know what they don't know, right? It's one thing to know it and not work for it, but sometimes they're not exposed to it, right? They're not exposed to it. So one of the things that that is really made a difference in my journey is going abroad, and this is the same with anybody that studies abroad, right? You go abroad, you get a different perspective, you widen your horizon, and you come back, right? And you kind of have, issues, problems. You have a different perspective because you have something that opened your mind that before you didn't know. So now you know what you didn't know, right? And so the whole idea is for people in that circumstances is to start with the desire to be better, right? And so one of the things that we actually advocate is, sometimes in our culture, we put a lot of pressure on being the best, right? Why aren't you number one? Why aren't you number two? And
we always announce the top one.
correct. No one remembers number two and number three. And so one of the things that I really kind of advocate is, that I get asked a lot, sometimes Filipinos doesn't come across as confident, right? We tend to have some reservations. And I said, well, part of that may be growing up, we're always being expected to be number one and number two. And no one's always going to be number one. There's only going to be one and number one.
Yes.
What we should focus on is being your best, not being the best.
Yes.
Because that is something that I'm within control of. Right? But always competing with someone that kind of is a recipe for disappointment. But if I'm working towards my skills and how I can be the best of me, that's more achievable.
Yes, so you have to compete with yourself.
Correct.
Not
You
with
always
others.
have expectations and make sure that, don't compare. That's the one thing that I always try to advise people. Stop comparing.
And of course, if you want to become a better person, you need to go out of your comfort zone. So just like what you said, if you live with your parents or in a certain community, you have to decide that you need to go somewhere to learn new perspectives.
Yeah, so leadership is a conscious decision, right? Like, and I think it's very difficult to lead someone to the water. You can't make them drink, right? I can teach you everything that I know, but it comes a point in time where you yourself need to say, you know what? I want to be better than be better myself, right? And then you start really applying it. But until such time, there's a lot of people that I teach two people the same thing. One absorbs it, applies it, the other one it goes over their head. So it really starts with the desire to be better.
Yeah. So for the Geese project, how did you start this? Like you mentioned earlier that you study the traits, you come up with systems. So how long did it take for you to have these systems?
It took me 2 years.
2 years.
Right? It took 2 years. And a lot of that time was spent really on reflecting and researching, reflecting what made me succeed and what made me fail.
Oh, nice.
And this is in the context of Filipino, being a Filipino, right? Geese Project is really, you know, what does it take for a Filipino leader to succeed in a global stage? It's really, I built it for Filipinos because the whole Geese Project model is anchored towards our legacy traits that we grew up with, right? So I'll give you an example. So one of the things that really sometimes we struggle with is conflict management.
Yes.
Right? It's something that is very common. And part of the reason for that is because growing up, part of the reason why we struggle at conflict management, everything to us is personal. Right? Everything to us is personal because it's rooted in how we grew up. And so technically when the kids are growing up, you separate the behavior with the character. You address the behavior. You do not the behavior's bad, the character is not bad. But growing up, there's no distinction between the two. And so we grew up thinking that if I do something bad, I'm bad, me as a person, as opposed to my behavior. And so anytime that somebody comments, regardless whether it's given in the right tone, we take it personally, right? And so part of that exercise is really understanding where those tendencies are coming from. It's really rooted to how our parents brought us up, and the ability to manage it is really the key for us to be able to be successful global leaders.
Yeah, and I think if that is the case, our educational system would need to include these systems, these behavior studies in our curriculums. No, it has to be included so that we can, of course, as we groom young generations, as they grow on, they get to know that the distinction between this character and behavior.
I think we really need to make a decision of where we see our next generation's going to be. If we really want to compete in a global stage, and that's the whole intention why I came back, is really to prepare the next generation to be able to compete. We have to overcome some of these limitations, and we call them the challenge traits, right? We call them the challenge traits that are inherent in every Filipino, which is conflict management, critical thinking, and communications, which is the 3 C's.
Yes.
Right? So we need to kind of be aware of it. Half the battle is just being aware of it. The other half is learning how to manage it.
Yeah. Then why is it called the Geese Project?
So the Geese, I grew up in Canada, you know, and it's a metaphor for a lot of things that the Canadian geese, which is inherently from Canada, really how they behave.
Okay.
Right? There are 5 behaviors that the Canadian geese does, and this is, you have to realize this is they do this naturally, right? The first thing they do is they fly in a V formation. And when they fly in a V formation, they're 70% more efficient in terms of their getting to their destination because there's less drag. They tend to be aligned better. It's a metaphor for organizational alignment. The more that in a team or in a business that people are aligned in terms of what you're trying to achieve, the more that you're going to get there faster, right? Second thing they do is when you see them fly, they're loud, they quack. right? Because what they do is they provide positive encouragement for the lead goose to go faster and faster.
Okay.
And that enables you to get to your destination, much quicker. The metaphor is that in every organization, in every business, we don't encourage each other enough, right? We don't give each other enough positive reinforcements. We need that because that's what pushes the next person to achieve more than what they think they're capable of, right? The third thing they do is what we call rotational leadership. When the lead goose gets tired, it goes to the back.
Okay.
And another goose takes over. So leadership is not just about one person. Leadership is who has the right skills at the right time to lead the team.
Yeah. It's like shared leadership.
It is. And sometimes, at least in the Philippines, there's this mentality of strongman, right? There's only one leader. He knows or she knows everything.
Yes.
And so all the decisions need to be, kind of referred to him or her, as opposed to really a collective group of people, like to your point, shared leadership, that really enables to step up when the time's right. The fourth thing they do is that when one of the goose gets tired, two other geese goes down with them until they're strong enough to go back to the flock or join another flock.
I see.
Right? That's really important because the sign of a good team is not when things are good. It's when things are bad.
Yes.
And how they support that one person that is struggling.
How will they stick with one another?
How will they stick with one another and how they kind of help each other recover. And so, again, it's a metaphor about team support, about teamwork. And the last thing they do naturally is that when you see them flying, there's always one goose ahead of the flock. It's not in the feed formation, right? It's called the visionary. In every organization, in every business, in every team, there's always one that's looking for the best win so that they can get to their destination faster. The reason why this 5 behaviors is really significant is because no matter what we learn, until we adopt what we call the geese mentality, which is helping each other, I contrast this with what we are very familiar with called the crab mentality.
Yes.
Right? And we don't need to go through what the crab mentality is.
Yes.
The key to success for Filipino leaders globally and to be able to really elevate themselves is to transform from the crab mentality to the geese mentality. Hence, it's called the Geese Project. So my vision is to really transition the current Filipino leaders and the future Filipino leaders from the inherent crab mentality to the geese mentality.
Yeah, I like the distinction between the geese mentality and the crab mentality. We really need to help one another if we want to grow. And
other cultures do it.
yes,
Right? But I think part of that is really the looking each other in the mirror and saying it's not a criticism.
yes,
It's more of this is who we are, right? And for the longest time, a lot of Filipinos sometimes reject or at least deny who we are.
yes,
And they kind of think, oh, I wish I was like this. I wish like this. What I realized when you asked the question, through my journey, is the success of future Filipino leaders rests already upon us. We're already doing it.
yeah,
We don't need to emulate another style. We don't have to copy another style.
Yeah.
What we need to do is look internally at what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, manage it, harness it, and then really master it to elevate ourselves.
Okay, so we'll get to learn more about that later. We are taking a quick break and we continue our conversation with Richard after a few minutes. Leaders of PCCI Quezon City, you are each deployed in a key global city to uncover opportunities that will shape the path forward.
Companies here are eager to collaborate with cities that are innovative and future-focused, like Quezon City.
Companies here are championing initiatives in renewable energy, eco-friendly infrastructure, and social responsibility.
Japanese firms are keen on sharing expertise in robotics and urban sustainability, which align perfectly with our goals for growth and development.
There's great potential to collaborate in creating smart urban spaces and fostering cultural exchanges with Quezon City.
Their approach to fostering business-friendly environment is something we can learn from to further position Quezon City as a competitive global player.
Collaboration here can help Quezon City elevate its global competitiveness while advancing sustainability goals.
In Beijing, the focus is on advancing cutting-edge technology.
And sustainable manufacturing could propel Quezon City.
Together, we can forge partnerships that shape the future of global commerce.
Listening to all the incredible insights from our leaders stationed across the globe, it is clear that Quezon City's potential knows no bounds.
This is the Quezon City International Business Conference 2025.
I now call this Quezon City International Business Conference to order.
Today, our hearts are full of joy. With this international conference, we are bringing Quezon City to the world, and we're bringing the world to Quezon City.
We also extend our most profound appreciation to our resource speakers, panelists, partner organizations, government agencies, sponsors, suppliers, and every participant here today. You are part of history.
We should move beyond resilience to sustainable progress if we want to achieve your conference theme of an equitable economy. Working on this mission together, I am positive that we can continue to make a big difference.
Together, we will make Tatak Pinoy, proudly Filipino, a powerful global brand, one that reflects the strength, creativity, and the world-class talent of the Filipino people.
May we seize the opportunity to learn, grow, and inspire one another as we work towards a future of shared prosperity and sustainability.
Congratulations to PCCI Quezon City, led by its president, Atty. Arnel Mateo, and the local government of Quezon City, headed by Mayor Joy Belmonte. Again, a pleasant good morning to everyone.
Medyo mahabang explanation nga.
Magandang hapon po muli. Nagbabalik tayo dito sa Idol sa Negosyo with our guest, Richard Caballeo of the Geese Project. Okay, so Richard, Geese Project, ano ba yung mga program services na meron tayo sa Geese Project?
So the Geese project is really built on three things. One is we have a workshop that we do. It's a 1 day or 2 day workshop. The next one is going to be August 28th in BGC. And this is where we actually, on a face-to-face standpoint, really walk through a lot of the participants in terms of transforming their traits and their skills, right? The second thing that we do is we do a lot of consulting for companies. So yesterday we just finished a consulting with a small company, and our focus is really small, medium business companies that is really looking to develop their leadership mancom, right, to their leadership layer. And so we do that company specific. But the third one that we have is what we call the Geese Project Leadership Institute, which is e-learning courses of over 100 courses to support the Geese Project methodology. And so this enables us to scale to reach not just hundreds, not millions of Filipinos, to be able to really learn how to transform from a crab mentality to a Geese mentality.
Yeah. And for this e-learning, like, how long can you finish this?
So what we're doing is we really customize this based on the Philippine market. So we don't offer it anywhere else. Like the Geese project was built for Philippines, built for the Filipinos. And so understanding that that Filipinos are very price sensitive, we're the first one to offer it on a Netflix model. Meaning over 120 courses, one charge, unlimited. Right? Each course is very comprehensive. It's about 2.5 hours. Right? And it's really, for example, topics such as emotional intelligence, topics that's critical thinking. So what I realized that the key for Filipinos to really be successful is to develop what we call the soft skills. We have a lot of training on technical skills, but no one really tries to develop set up a library of courses that will help Filipinos elevate their soft skills to compete at the global stage. And so what we do is to make it as accessible as possible. We offer this library for a monthly fee, and you can take 130 courses as much as you can.
Yeah. And how can they access these lessons?
So this lessons they can access through www.geeseproject.com, right? The e-learning arm is called the GP Leadership Institute, which is one of the things. But after finishing each of the course, and they have to get 80%, so it's a quite comprehensive. They will get a certificate from the GP Leadership Institute out of Toronto, Canada, right? And so they can kind of put that as part of their LinkedIn profile as one of their competencies. But the whole idea is really to expose our next generation to as many soft skills, global soft skills that they will need if they want to work or even migrate. Right? And so they will enable them to be 2 steps ahead in terms of how everybody else is doing it.
And for those who already finished these courses, how did these courses transform their lives?
It did. You just have to look at the website, and we have testimonials of leaders in terms of how it affected them, what's their impression of him. Because it's like a Pandora's box. Once you've been exposed to a Geese mentality, it's very hard to go back to your old mentality, right? And so, and this is not my words, their words, it's quite transformational.
So after they finish the course, they now have the conscious mentality to stick to what Geese mentality is about.
It is. Like, I'll give you an example, right? So one of the things that the Geese mentality is all about, leadership is not about being the best. So I go back to our earlier comment about, sometimes we're so focused on, bakit ka hindi number one? But hindi ka number one, Leadership is actually about bringing the best from the people around you, which is sometimes counterintuitive. But we have to ingrain that through the whole process. It is not about you.
Yes.
It is about the people around you. But growing up in our environment, growing up in our culture, we're so indoctrinated to have the strong man personality, or strong woman personality, that know it all, that needs to be really, be the forefront. And really, if you look at the true leadership, effective leaders, and there's history, there's numerous people that have been effective leaders, it's really their ability to bring the best around them. Now, once you kind of absorb that and internalize that, it changes your approach. It changes your approach on how to develop your team. It changes the way you communicate to them, because it's all about really helping them grow.
Yes, I have to agree, because if you're a leader and if you do everything, you'll get tired. So that's why you really have to empower and to teach and to trust other people that they can lead as well and help you in whatever role that you're doing.
And there's one of the things that we teach in the Geese project is the similarity between being a parent and being a leader, right? There's a reason why we have a term called leaders eat last. The analogy in our and the parenting is, isusubo mo na, ibibigay mo pa sa anak mo, right? Because parents sacrifice, right? They wanted the best for their kids. The true test of a true leader is that mentality, is the ability to sacrifice your own welfare for the sake of your team. Until such time as you have not absorbed that mentality, you haven't arrived as a leader. The analogy is very, very contrasting.
Yes.
Not contrasting, but very similar, right? It's being a parent and how you nurture your kid. It's the same approach. It's the same mentality that you would effective leaders do, right? It's to nurture them, to bring the best out of them.
So what formula do we have now? How do we transform ourselves from having the crab mentality to geese mentality?
So just based on experience and just based on my own research, there are 12 traits, right? There are 12 traits that Filipinos need to master. And those 12 traits are not equal. There are certain traits that we're naturally good at, right? There are certain traits that we're naturally weak at. There are certain traits that we have one, maybe two already of that component of the traits, but we don't have everything.
Okay.
And we have the last one is what we call their traits that are non-negotiables, meaning this lays the foundation for you to be a good leader. So the traits that we're good at, we call them power traits. And there are 3 R's, right? Relationship, resilience, resourcefulness. We're naturally good at it. Just look at relationships, right? It doesn't have to be taught to us. We just look at our parents, we look at our aunts, how they build relationships, how they connect. There's a reason why Filipinos are the #1 user for Facebook, right? There's a reason why Filipinos tend to have one of the top multi-level marketing countries, right? We connect through relationships, right?
And Filipinos are very hospitable.
And they are. Like, I'll give you a classic example. I use this example all the time but it kind of illustrates how we engage. So when I meet you for the first time, right? I said, hey, Atty. Arnel, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Samar. Automatically I say, do you know so-and-so?
Yes.
Of course, there's hundreds of thousands, even millions of people.
So we find something to connect.
But, for us, it seems natural. But actually, there's a science to it. It's called referenceability. If we know one person in common, what it enables us to do is really, there's one person that vouches for me, and it enables our relationship to go stronger, faster. Right? So although it may be a casual behavior, it's actually a very powerful thing that we do. And I use that internationally, right? I use that when I'm engaging in Asia, because it's all about relationship. So this little behavior nuances that we do that we don't realize is actually our strength. And that's about relationship, right? I mean, and then you go through resilience. I mean, over 20 typhoons hit every year.
Yeah.
Every child growing up knows that we're going to get damaged, right? But we will recover. We
Yes.
know that. It's already ingrained in our head. And so this resilience is at the heart of what OFWs are.
Yes.
Because they know that no matter how much they suffer, even abroad, they will recover and they will rise up,
Yes.
right?
And it's only in the Philippines that even if we encounter different tragedies, people can still have time to smile. And of course, there's still hope that we can recover. Unlike in other countries, if they experience earthquakes and tragedies, the hope is very minimal.
And this is not just observing people. This is from my own personal experience, right? It's just like, I mean, I've gone through a lot of struggles, just like everybody else. Like I told you, immigrating, you struggle when you're young, and you come out on the other side, right? And when you're already a professional and you're competing, you have that confidence that you've gone through so much. And so when you compete with somebody, they may be smarter than you, they may be richer than you, but they will never outwork you.
Yes.
Because you've gone through so much, and that's the resilience at the heart of what Filipinos are, right? They're hard workers, they're honest workers, and that's our strength, right? And so when you go through the challenge traits, I think I mentioned critical thinking, conflict management, communications. We call them the 3 C's. So whereas the strength is the 3 R's, this is the 3 C's, right? Part of the reason why we struggle with critical thinking is in most of our upbringing, our parents are very dominant,
Yes.
right? They make a decision for us, right? They even make a decision on our profession.
They tell you what to do and not to do.
Mag-nurse ka na lang. I don't want to be a nurse. Mag-nurse ka na lang. Hindi, sigurado na yung trabaho mo. Mag-nurse ka na lang. Ayokong mag-nurse, nanay. Hindi, and then you end up, that's how much influence the parents are, right? And so, right intention, right? I'm not criticizing the parents. It's just the reality of how we grew up, diba? But the idea is that by doing that, we did not grow up making decisions for ourselves, right? It's always somebody else is making decisions for us. And so you go to a school system that any sign of difference of opinion is a sign of disrespect.
Yes.
Tatahimik na lang ako. Hindi na ako mag-argue.
So if you answer back to your teacher,
That's
they,
right.
they will treat you as disrespectful.
That's right. And so as opposed to North Americans where independent thinking is encouraged, instead of memorization, it's more case study, right? There's no right or wrong answer, right? So early on, they're able to think through problems, right, without a clear answer. And that's sometimes there's a challenge for us because we always defer to somebody else to come up with the answer. It's hard for us to kind of think through information and come up with it. And that's the reason why we struggle with critical thinking.
Yes.
It's because we didn't grow up really making decisions for ourselves, and now reinforced by a school system. And so we have generations of professionals going into the workforce that doesn't know how to handle conflict management, nor do they know how to do critical thinking, and they don't know how to communicate, right? Because on the communication side, nahihiya,
Yes.
right? There's so many misunderstanding because we are so conflict averse. Ang dapat sabihin hindi natin sinasabi.
Yes, yes.
Right? We're omitting it, and in the process, it dilutes the message, and in the process, the message is not really delivered. Now, take that on a global scale where, other races are much more focused on communicate clearly.
They're very
directly.
vocal.
Correct. But they get to the point very quickly.
Yes.
Right? And in our case, pag sinabi ko siya, baka ma-offend siya, we really spend a lot of resources trying to. And I'm not, again, criticizing. This is just more an observation that this is who we are. The more that we try to really understand who we are and our tendencies, the more we can manage it, right? And so this 3 C's is really the workshop on August 28th is focused on this, right? Is really overcoming the conflict management, the critical thinking, and the challenges of communication. Now, on the next three is what we call aspirational traits, right? Aspirational traits means these are traits that we already have one component of our traits. The first one is leadership. Filipinos make great leaders because they have the number one trait of a leader, and that's empathy.
Yeah.
Right? We have tons of empathy because we grew up in a third world country. We understand other people's suffering. Even in my own personal experience, when my own direct reports give feedback to me, is that, Richard, one of the things of your strength is you understand people. Filipinos are, to your point, hospitable. We're into a relationship. We're very good at this.
Yes.
Right? That doesn't mean there's other aspect of leadership that we need to improve. But at the heart of it, the foundational component of that trait, we're already there. Right? So if you look at, let me just kind of talk about leadership. If you look at the globalization, no one can compete with the Germans in terms of engineering. No one compete with the Indians in terms of IT. No one can compete with China in terms of infrastructure and manufacturing. It's very hard to compete with Americans in terms of marketing and innovation. But this leadership space, this is built for Filipinos. No one has captured this space. And with our natural traits, our tendencies, you can see it already. Right? This is ours for the taking.
Yeah. So if we can master this leadership, we can overcome, or we can be at par with how other countries master their trade, their business.
Yeah, yeah, and then I mean, there's a reason why China has become good at manufacturing. I mean, it's through the practice and through. There's a reason why the Indians have become good in IT. This leadership thing is ours, and we're already kind of exhibiting that. So there's certain countries like Indonesia where they really view Filipinos very highly, right? And so it's not as if we don't have the capability. We just have to have the will to be able to accomplish it. And the reason for that is if you look at the OFWs that we kind of exported, only 2% are managers. The rest are laborers, right? The vision of the Geese project is really to change this proportion. I want to be able, 10 years from now, I want to be sitting here in front of you and say, Attorney Arnel, 20% of our exports are all managers. They're all leaders.
Yeah.
We are being coveted by all the countries that wants Filipino leaders because they're so good in relationship, they're so good in communication, they're able to do, you know what I mean? It's like, this is ours for the taking. And so I'm really excited of that opportunity. And the second thing, leadership excellence, is we can be good at excellence because we have the number one trait of excellence, and that is malasakit.
Yes.
That is inherently Filipino. And that's the reason why we make great nurses, we make great hospitality, we make great caregivers, because we have malasakit.
Yes.
That no other races have. And the last one is innovation, right? We have proven that we have the number one trait of innovation, and that's creativity. We have proven it in the area of arts, in the area of music. We just need to divert that trait towards more business related. So the difference with this aspirational trait is we already have one of the components versus the challenge traits, which we really struggle with this. And the last three traits is really the foundational one, which is integrity, work ethic, and discipline.
Yes.
Right? So those 12 traits is really at the heart of what the Geese project model is.
Okay. Then, for an ordinary Filipino, how do you stay focused? How do you embrace these traits? Because sometimes, even when we are at school, when we meet other leaders, when we listen to different podcasts, we get to learn different leadership traits. But after listening or after learning from it, we tend to go back, or others tend to go back to their old ways. So how do we stay focused and master these leadership traits?
So you're absolutely right. One of the challenges with not just leadership training, any training,
Yes.
for that matter, is that they give you the solution to the problem. They don't tell you the root cause of the problem. One of the things that's different with the Geese project is really correlated. Why do we have tendencies like this? You know, why are this culture-based leadership is born out of how we grew up and how we were influenced by school, and for example, the influence of societal norms. So I'll give you an example of societal norms. Pakikisama, utang na loob,
yes,
that's inherently Filipino. But that drives your leadership style. That drives your decision. So you have to be conscious of how much this influences your effectiveness as a leader. So to answer your question, at the heart of making sure that all your learnings become sustainable is you need to self-reflect. Because learning only happens when you self-reflect. Otherwise, it's just information coming at you.
Yes.
When you stop and you say, oo nga, no? Totoo nga yan. But why that happen? Kasi itong pinanggalingan, no?
Yes.
Right? What it enables you to do is really internalize, right? And really understand where your tendencies are coming from. And that is what's gonna make it sustainable. Kasi you're now understanding kung saan hinuhugot yung behavior mo.
Yes,
and
yes.
why. And you're able to manage it. Sometimes, bakit nga ba ako conflict averse? Bakit nga? So, the conflict averse, I give you an example. A lot of people don't realize this on why, and I can hear the nods with your audience. You know, let's say, oh nga, no? Talagang tama si Richard, talagang conflict averse. Because in our culture, we cannot see a situation where there's a conflict and we don't terminate the relationship.
Yeah.
In North America, in Europe, we can agree to disagree. But as soon as I disagree with you in our culture, there's a possibility we will terminate the relationship.
Yes, agreed.
Right? And so we do everything in our power to avoid that conflict. That's where ghosting comes in, where you're ignoring things. Kasi takot ka na pag nagbangga kayo,
yes,
you will terminate that relationship. And so that psychology of that mentality, it's really what's driving this conflict averseness.
So how do we balance our behavior? Kasi like in our effort to avoid conflict, we tend to be very careful with the way we do things, with the way we say things. And when you speak of leadership, it also includes what you mentioned earlier. One of our traits is empathy, right? So how do you balance empathy and of course your sensitivity not to hurt others?
Yeah, so I think first of all, you have to be authentic, right? There are certain people that they try to emulate a specific style of leadership because they read it somewhere,
Yes.
and it doesn't come across as natural, right? First of all, people can smell it.
Yeah.
People can read through you. So if there's one advice that I have for your audience, be an authentic leader, right? Because that means that with all its faults, with all its, this is who I am.
Yes.
And that's, I think, a message that I send not just individually, but as a culture. We should never be embarrassed of being Filipinos. This is who we are.
Yes.
Right? And that's where our confidence are built from. Right? Accept me for who I am with all its faults and all its also features, right? And so after you've done that, then you need to find that balance in terms of delivering in a way that doesn't offend people, right? But at the same time, getting your message across.
Yeah.
And they're not exclusive, right? You can achieve both, right? And I know because part of that is we just finished that workshop last night where I was really, there was a situation where, how do I get my message across? Where I just want to get the message. I don't care if I offend people, right? And what I tell them is there's always a delivery and there's always a message.
Yes.
Right? If you don't take care of the delivery and you step on people along the way, they will never listen to your message. And so even though you're very task oriented and you want to get the message across, you really need as a leader to be conscious of how you are delivering that message, right?
Yeah.
And without kind of being somebody else other than your authentic self.
Yes, because sometimes we can be straightforward, but for others, it's hurtful.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So if that happens, do you have to apologize as a leader that you hurt someone because of your straightforward message?
It really depends on the situation, but I think part of that is I always try to premise my comments, right? And I try to not generalize, not to offend. So I always try to say, this is my opinion.
Yes.
Right? It's not necessarily the right opinion or the wrong opinion, but it's my opinion. And inevitably, they relate to it if it's in line with
Yes.
what their thinking is.
So they will
right?
think it's not personal.
Correct. And I'm very careful to use examples that is not provocative and it doesn't attack. But I use examples and saying, I've been in this situation and this is what happened to me. And one of the most impactful way you can do that is tell a story, right? Great leaders always tell great stories because no matter how much you kind of preach, it doesn't really hit the point where they would understand it until you apply it to a story that they can relate to, right? And so, so one thing that I encourage leaders to do is always tell a story. Tell a story. If you're trying to emphasize communication, if you're trying to emphasize things, tell a story behind it, right? One of the things that we tend to do when as leaders, we tend to just communicate the decision. We don't communicate the logic and the rationale behind it. And so when we kind of bring down those decisions, people are saying, where did that come from? Whereas if you tell the story, if you tell the rationale, if you tell the reason why it, then they can understand, and they may not agree to it, but they understand where it's coming from. And that's part of being a leader, is you need to be able to communicate, you need to be able to tell the story.
And of course, it goes back to one of the traits that you mentioned. You have to relate, right?
That's our script. I mean, relationship. I'll tell you a story. Right? I was in Japan. This was early '90s, and I was a senior auditor for Hewlett Packard. And the nature of my job as a senior auditor, at the end of the engagement, maybe it's a 1 week, 2 weeks engagement, there's always an audit report. Right?
Yes.
And general managers hate those because depending on what you write on the report and what you find in the organization, they may not be in that position the next year once you file that report. And so they do everything to prevent that. And so the nature of the position is very confrontational. There's always conflict. But there's one thing, and that role I was very successful. And that's what led me to that leadership program. You would think a position that's highly confrontational and conflict, how could you be very successful in it? I was successful in it because of a natural trait that Filipinos have, and that's pakiramdam. So before I even go into these meetings, before I even develop or deliver these reports, I already know what everybody's position is. I know how they feel. I know how hard to push. I know how much to back off, and that's inherently Filipino. Pakiramdam is one of the most powerful thing that we have that I use all the time on a global stage, right? And it's all part of who we are. The key is to harness all of these traits that we use on a daily basis and use it to our advantage to really elevate ourselves to be global leaders.
Now, in terms of conflict management, how do we manage conflicts? What do we do if let's say you're in a board or you're in your office with your fellow officers and board of directors and conflict arises? So how do you manage that? And another thing is, if there's a conflict among your workers, sometimes as a business owner, operations can be hampered if there are conflicts among workers. So as a leader, how do we deal with that? How do we handle those conflicts? Managerial level, then employee level.
So let me step back and answer that one step removed, right? So all your employees and all your subordinates will behave based on how the leader behaves. I call it tone from the top.
Okay.
A lot of companies, they believe in mission, vision, values, right? It's always posted on the wall. But I'm telling you, and I'm not negating that, but you don't need that. All the employees need to do is watch the leader, right? If the leader is always late, it gives permission for the employees to always be late. You don't need to put it in writing, you cannot be late, right?
Yeah.
And so don't underestimate the ability of your employees to observe you and how you talk and how you behave and how you handle conflict. Your employees will, if nagmumura ka, if you lose your temper, if you lose your anger, if you get angry easily, it gives permission for employees to do the same.
Okay.
So I've been in a situation where small company early in my career, the CEO, the owner of the company tends to swear, right?
Yeah, and there are a lot.
Right? But in this case, in Canadian, I've never exposed it. I'm early in my career. I just graduated, and I never heard a president or CEO swear, right? And of course, you have the executive team, and through time, you notice that the language of the executive team also starts swearing, right? It's exactly what I'm illustrating. It's by osmosis, right? The way that your employees will handle conflict is directly related to how you handle conflict, right?
Okay.
So now let me get to the heart of your question is how do you handle conflict when so one of the things, and we just taught it yesterday, is that we are very emotional, right? We think, therefore we act. What we are trying to recommend is we think, we pause, we react.
How long should you pause?
5 to 10 seconds.
Okay.
5 to 10 seconds, right? So automatically, even you want to go back, you pause, right? Second of all, the thing that as soon as you open your mouth, your first response should be, help me understand. Even though you know the answer.
Yes.
Seek to understand before you can be understood, right? As a leader, you need to do that, right? The second thing, so the first one is pause. The second thing, ask the question. Even if you don't want to ask the question as a discipline, because most of the time, you will find something new, some new information that you didn't think about, right?
Correct.
So the second thing that you need to do is you said, help me understand, right? Why are you always late this morning, right? Just help me understand. Even though they've done it numerous times, and help me understand. I've spoken to you numerous times, and so the second thing you do is, like I said, the third thing you do is you explain the impact. So we've spoken about this numerous times. When you're late, and it gives permission for other people to be late, which is part of our policy. So you look at, try to understand, explain the impact, and the third thing that you do is, what can we do to help you overcome this. You give an olive branch, right? In every conflict, right? And so once you internalize that steps, you will eliminate 90% of the conflict.
Okay.
It's tough. I'm telling you, it's difficult.
Yes.
Because
yes.
when you're in the heat of the battle, your natural tendency is to react.
Yes.
So pause, right? Ask the question, explain the reason, and then give an olive branch in terms of how you can help them, right? One of the things that, if there's another nugget of information that really I learned in Hewlett Packard, is that people do not wake up in the morning thinking they're going to do a bad job. People wake up in the morning thinking they're going to do a great job.
Okay.
Right? It's up to you as a leader to realize that potential when they come to work. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we have a tendency, if the employee is not performing, we tend to have this blaming mentality. Right? Kasi ganun siya, ganun siya, right? And one of the things that really changed my approach in leadership is every time an employee leaves your company, 50% of the accountability is to the manager. Because obviously you hired that person. You saw something in that person. That's why you hired them.
Yes.
Right? But somewhere along the line, either the environment or the circumstances, that potential of that employee was not realized. That's not just the employee's fault. 50% of the accountability sits with the manager. The number one reason why people leave their companies, they don't leave their companies because of the company, they leave the company because of their direct manager. Right? Once you internalize that and really understand that I'm responsible for the success of my employees, the conversation changes.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying, Arnel, how can I help you be successful? As opposed to, bakit mo ginawa yun?
Yes.
Bakit mo ginawa yun? So, as opposed to saying, help me understand. You ask the question first, right? And then, how can I help you? Very different outcome. Because then the employee doesn't feel persecuted. Instead, they feel supported. They feel that, okay, they've taken the time. Like, for example, I'll give you the same example of somebody always being late. When I ask the question, why are you always late? Sir, my mother's really sick. Every time in the morning before I go to work, I have to go to the hospital. I have to spend at least 15 minutes before. Otherwise, I don't get to see her. And she's really serious. If I would have just assumed and I would have judged, I would have come up with a completely different conclusion.
Yes.
And that's why it's always important, even though you know the answer, to always ask the question, because just from experience, there's always new information that may enable you to arrive at the right decision.
Yes. But in situations like that, as a leader, when is the time that you need to step up and use your iron hand? Like you have to discipline them already.
So one of the things that we teach in the section of communications in the workshop is setting expectation, right? One of the things that leaders don't do is they don't set expectations, right? They just observe, they don't give warning, they don't give feedback, and suddenly inis na sila.
Yes, yes.
Right? Right? It's a skill that leaders need to have, which is set expectations to be fair to the employee so that they know what your expectations are and what the outcome if they do not perform.
Yeah, so you have to communicate what you want.
Correct.
So if in case your employee can't meet your expectations, that's the time you decide if you have to discipline them or not.
But I will even break it down further. So what happens is, even if you set expectations, right? We don't monitor, right? Bago natin i-monitor, malubhana. So you need to set expectations, You need to monitor, and you need to be able to speak up. The challenge was, nangyayari, sige, palampasin ko na lang. You know, you're so afraid of conflict that you prolong it.
Yes.
Right? And in the process, it kind of validates to the employee, okay palang maging late. Wala naman kumakausap sa akin. Right? They have to know that not only are you fair, but you're consistent. Sinabi kong itong mangyayari, pag itong ginawa mo, minonitor kita, itong na-observe ko, now I'm telling you, if you do that, there comes a point in time where they realize that they've been given so many chances. And there's a time where it's not a good fit. So you don't have to get angry, because then it's not as if, para bang hindi mo nasabi yung gusto mo, tapos hindi mo nagbigyan ng warning, tapos nagalit ka na lang. So before you know it, bakit naman nag-overreact si boss? Hindi naman ako binigyan ng warning. And so it's up to the leader to really properly set expectations and make sure you measure them. Oh, the one I told you, it's not happening. I'm giving you another chance, right? And then speak up in a timely manner. Huwag niyong palampasin. Kasi, like I said, the employees know. They observe you. They observe you if you're afraid of conflict. They observe you if you're not organized enough na follow-up mo.
Yeah. Now, how about micromanagement? So, some leaders tend to micromanage all activities, all departments, all employees, every nitty-gritties. So, as a leader, is it good to be a micromanager, or what do you have to do in order to handle this kind of behavior of micromanaging?
Oh, so that's a difficult question because I'm exposed to a more North American style. I'm sure that this is a very hot topic for a lot of Filipino managers, but when I give my opinion, this is not theoretical. This is based on having managed teams, multinational teams, award-winning teams, and even now I'm managing a team of Filipino, right? So it's not as if this is theoretical. This is really experiential in terms of... So one of the challenges with micromanaging is it doesn't scale. You spend all your resources trying to manage and making sure, right? I have an analogy with that, which is, giving them the fish versus teaching them how to fish. What I try to do is I try to spend as much time educating my team to be accountable for the consequences of their actions, right? And of course, it's not going to be exactly how I want, but eventually what you will see is they are able to have the right tools and the skills to be able to manage themselves, right? And that's what I'm aiming for. I'm not saying that it's applicable for every situation, every business in the Philippines, but long term, it just enables you to have, and the challenge with saying that is I've witnessed and I've been part of a team that really were successful because of that. And so I'm a living testimonial of how it could work. But for a lot of us, they don't know what they don't know. They've never experienced it. And so their natural tendency is to micromanage.
Yes.
Right? Whereas long term, if you really want to grow your company, you really need to develop the communication skills, the conflict management, the critical thinking of your employees, so that, and even the team that I manage now, I can see the evolution where they themselves are starting to make decisions and they're just coming to me for validation. And it's a very rewarding exercise because that means I spend less resources, right? They are the one at the frontline workers. They're the one that's meeting the customer. They're assessing the situation. They're solving the problems. They're just coming back to me and says, okay, this is what we think we do, right? Instead of me micromanaging them, it's much more sustainable and it really builds much more loyal employees.
Yeah. So we really need to master those 12 leadership skills.
It's
real
not
leadership
easy.
traits, right? And
Yeah, and I think to be fair, and a lot of people, oh, that's a lot, Richard.
Yeah,
that's
that's
but,
well.
no, I'm saying not everything is going to be all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody, when I was in my younger self, told me, okay, Richard, in your career, in your lifetime, you really need to focus on these 12 things,
Yes.
right? If you're going to be an effective leader, if you really want to elevate your skill set so that there's nothing that's thrown at you as a leader that you can't handle,
Yeah.
these are the 12 things you need to focus on, right? And that's the intent of that. It's not intended to overwhelm.
Yeah.
It's really intended to create a roadmap.
Yes.
So that people says, marami nagre-reklamo, how do we develop leaders? Pero wala naman nagbibigay ng recipe kung paano tayo mag-develop ng leaders,
Yes, yes.
right? And that's the intention of the Geese project.
So each time you face a certain situation, you pause, then go back to the 12 traits and find a fit. Which one will you use? Which trait will be applicable in a certain situation?
So on the conflict management, there's already a specific things that, but definitely when you're in a situational, you're trying to draw upon, okay, which trait, why am I reacting this way? Why do I have a tendency, to just, even though I know I have to address it, but I'm afraid, right? I don't, and conflict management is a twofold. One is to have the courage. The second is to have the language. The reason why most people don't want to address a conflict is they don't know what to say. Even though they may have the courage to kind of address it, it comes out the wrong way, that it's not a constructive. You end up making the whole situation worse. And that's why it's a two-step mastery. One is to have the courage to say, you know what, this is not really going well. And I just had it with my employee yesterday, right? And it was a very professional, but it was more a very constructive. How do I help you? How do we move forward? It's not like why did you do this? It's a blaming thing, because I know that when I'm talking to her, half the accountability. Maybe I didn't give her the right instructions. Maybe I didn't give her enough overview. Maybe so. There's always that part of me to say, okay, part of the accountability is with me. What can I do to make it better?
Then, how about these 12 leadership traits? Sometimes, of course, when you apply it already, when you practice these traits, there would be times that others would challenge you, despite that you're implementing or you're observing the leadership traits. Let's say these 12. So what do we do when others challenge your leadership?
So give me a much more specific example when they challenge in terms of you're in a certain position and then somebody says you don't know what you're talking about,
correct. Or you're doing the wrong thing.
Correct. So one of the things that I always try to focus on is really where that comment is coming from, right? There are a few things in my life that I really listen to. Everything else is noise. There's certain people, certain mentors that I need to, but at the end of the day, there are certain situations that you need to be conscious about, right? And this captures majority of the situation. You have to look at whether what they're criticizing is based on you have the right intention, but just the wrong execution.
Okay.
Right? When you have the wrong intention, wrong execution, ibang usapan yun.
Yes.
Meaning they're coming with the wrong approach. Hindi talaga nila gustong tulungan ka. They just wanna backstab you, or they just want to put you down. I don't spend a lot of time on those people, right? Because they're not constructive.
So you just leave.
Yeah, and they're toxic, right? I mean, leaders know that. As a leader, you gotta surround yourself with, just like the flock, just like geese. You need to surround yourself with people that will not put you down, but will boost you.
So there has to be the same mentality.
Correct. And not only that, even if they don't understand the mentality, they have the common sense to really be positive, right?
Yeah.
And be proud of you and not be inggit,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of, I mean, let's be honest, diba? A lot of them passive aggressive behavior.
Yes.
They think they're happy for you, pero inggit talaga, right? And then it manifests itself in behavior that's really not really productive. And so the first step that I do is, where is it coming from, right? And then based on where it's coming from, what's the root cause of what they're saying? And for the most part, you have to really be confident the fact that, you got to your position for a reason.
Yes.
Right? You didn't get to. So sabi ko nga nila, so one of the things that I get asked all the time, Richard, you've traveled all over the world, you've managed different people. What is the formula, right? To be able to be successful. So it's very simple, right? So for me, for you to be able to work globally, you cannot just be good. You have to be twice as good. Because the first good just covers the color of your skin. Let's be honest. There's discrimination.
Yes.
Right? Just by the way you look, people will discriminate, especially you're working in a global environment, right? But that should change as soon as I open my mouth. Right? That discrimination, that bias should go away. Because suddenly they're no longer looking at the color of the skin, but you're looking now at what's coming out of my mouth, right? And so it's up to us to step up and really overcome that bias. And so inevitably the question is, okay, I understand that. You've led a lot of teams. How do you lead multinational teams so that they make sure that you're successful? Well, if you need to be twice as good to be able to work globally. To lead multinational, you have to be 3 times as good. Because that third good is for them to respect you. Right? And so there's this notion and there's this idea that for us to succeed, we have to step up our game. Right? Not just because, I'm like this, and we just need to be able to have the accountability to learn what it takes to succeed globally and be able to work towards that if we really want to be able to master global leadership.
Yeah, so you have to be a master of the things that you do. So as much as possible, be an expert, right?
Or at least be able to execute, right? Be able to execute the skills, the traits. Because when you work globally or you work in a small business, just don't underestimate the ability of people to really smell. They understand if you're not authentic. They understand if you really are faking it. They understand if you really are sincere, right? And I think the formula for great teams is the authenticity.
For your students, what challenges do they normally face when they enroll in the courses? Like when they're learning the skill, the traits?
So I get asked this all the time. And that is confidence, right? Because there's this notion, and rightly so, that historically we've been colonized, and this mentality of a secondary citizen is ingrained in our brain, right? And so the way we communicate is very, apologetic, right? It's always sir. Like for example, I don't support sir or ma'am.
Yeah.
Right? We don't use it in North America.
Yes.
We don't use it in Europe. Because what it does is it makes us submersive immediately. Right? Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of the locals are saying, "Naku, respeto yun." But I'm not saying to eliminate it.
Yes.
What I'm saying is
don't overdo it.
No, but it's exactly like everything that I'm telling you. The vision we have of Filipino is the ability to adapt to situation. When I'm abroad, I'm as comfortable not using sir or ma'am. When I'm here, I don't have an issue saying sir or ma'am when the situation warrants it. That is the power of being a global leader. It's that you can adapt. The challenge is if you haven't been used in anything, you're so uncomfortable. You keep calling everybody sir and ma'am. And when you do that on a global scale, suddenly they look at you as very submersive, right? And suddenly, even if I have a lot of things to say, they already have a low idea of you. And so the number one thing that all my students says is, I wish I will have more confidence, right? I wish I could be more confident in myself. And when you talk to them, they know their stuff. They know, and so this whole confidence is really at the heart, the number one thing. And the only way to overcome that is to be able to accomplish things that you promise yourself. Right? If I'm saying I'm gonna lose weight and I'm able to lose weight, I become confident. If I want to learn how to speak publicly, I promise myself I'm going to speak publicly and I'm able to accomplish it, another notch. You get more confidence. If you repeat this time and time again, before you know it, there's nothing that you can't do. And I know this because this is, when I look back at my experience, I can pinpoint specifically parts of growing up where I took a risk. I said, I don't know what this is going to do, but I took a risk and I was able to step up, and that further reinforced my confidence to go to the next level, the next level. And before you know it, there was no limit. This idea of confidence, it's all about our mentality.
Yes.
It's all in the mind. It's not a capability issue.
Yes.
It's strictly a mentality issue. And that's why I focus on the mentality. Because that's the only limiting thing, as we call it, that really limits us. We call it the bamboo ceiling, which is, we get to a certain level and then we don't progress after that. Right? And that's what the challenge with Filipinos. The thing that will elevate us and punch through the bamboo is the change of mentality.
And I think with everything that we talk about, our audience are very much interested to learn more of this Geese project. So for our viewers, for our audience, just go to the platforms of the Geese project.
www.geeseproject.com.
And enroll in the courses.
You should be able to do that.
So what's next for the Geese project?
I think we're focusing on scaling this, right? And that's why we introduced the e-learning. I think that we have a good message in terms of really helping Filipinos elevate themselves to the next level. The question now is, how do we now reach as many Filipinos, both as professionals and also as young students? Because if we can impart this knowledge early on, before they even hit the job market, their mentality will be very different. Their confidence will be different. Their skill set will be different. And I always believe that it cascades. So the 3 C's, company, community, country. If we work on the people to make them good leaders at the company level, at the small, medium business level, they will contribute to their communities. And if we have good leaders in their community, it will eventually lead to better leaders in our country.
Correct. And I'm looking forward to that day that our younger generations will be able to understand what true leadership is and to have this Geese mentality.
I hope so. I mean, we don't know where we're going to end up, right? But one of our objectives is, as I always tell my team, it's time to stop being bystanders and be part of the solution. Because sometimes we have a tendency to say, to just identify the problem. Hey, but ganon, but no one's coming up with a solution. Right? And so everything is cyclical. It happens again. Right? And so what we are trying to do is kind of break that cycle. Right? We break that cycle by trying to impart a different way to think, a different approach to leadership that's inherently Filipino. Right? And that's what the Geese Project is all about.
And now, as we wrap up our conversation, what tips would you give to our entrepreneurs, to our business owners who need to scale up and who need to master their leadership in managing their business?
Yeah, so even though my background is mostly corporate, I've done 3 startups, right? So I've done startups. So I can relate to all the business owners out there in terms of the challenges of starting a business, growing a business. But if there's one thing that I could advise you, it's not about the product. It's about your people. The key to success, whatever business you're starting, whether it's a service, whether it's a hardware product, whether it's a software, sometimes we get so in love, for the lack of a better word, with our product, right? The way we market it. But the key to success of any company, if you look at companies that have scaled and have become unicorn, it's all about the people, right? And so even, I've done a couple of startups. I've pitched venture capitals. When venture capital, and we've exited once, when you look at people, when you look at VCs and that invests in companies, the product's cool. But the way they make the decision is actually the leader and the management team. Because the product will evolve. The service will evolve. The market will change, right? So, the 5-year forecast that you have, it's obsolete as soon as you publish it because it's already changed. But the people needs to feel, the investors need to feel confident that whatever the market will bring, how the product will evolve, the management team has the capability to solve it. And that's why it's really important to focus on the people.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard, for those tips, for the lessons that you shared, and of course, for the leadership traits that you imparted to our audience. So maraming salamat, Richard, for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. It's been truly enlightening and inspiring. At sa ating mga manonood, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Idols sa Negosyo. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories and practical tips on how to thrive in the world of business. And until next time, keep dreaming, keep hustling, and keep building your empire. This is Atty. Arnel Mateo. Ingat po tayong lahat. Magandang hapon. Ito po ang Idol sa Negosyo.